He really came to Australia with absolutely nothing. And when my mother passed away, he was only 46, she was 38, I became frum when I was 17 or 18, around that time when I was finishing school. And I went to Yeshiva Gedolah in Melbourne for a couple of weeks. I decided to stay for a year. At the end of the year, I wanted to stay longer. Dad was very freaked out about the fact I was wearing a yarmulke and that I was wearing my tzitzis outside. He was a Holocaust survivor. Between 1944 and 1956, my father did not walk into a synagogue. He was like so angry with what had happened to him. So he tried to convince me to leave yeshiva after 1 year. And I said, definitely, I want to stay for another year. So he then decided that when he's in New York, he wants to visit the Rebbe. And he thought, look, I'll give the Rebbe a few dollars and, we'll sort it out and the Rebbe will tell me to leave. And I think that's what he had in mind. He came, he had yichidus with the Rebbe, and he walked in and he stood by the Rebbe's table and the Rebbe asked him to sit. And Dad said that in Munkach we learned not to sit by the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, so if you're not going to sit, I'm not going to sit. The Rebbe came around the table and stood next to my father. So the Rebbe was very interested in the Minchas Halaza and his minhagim and what was the seder of the yeshiva, and he asked a lot of questions about that. And then he asked what happened to him in the ghetto and in Auschwitz and everything that happened. And these Holocaust survivors, the ones who'd had really terrible times, didn't talk about it at all. I mean, I knew nothing about it really growing up. And during that time, while Dad was telling the Rebbe this, he broke down and started to cry. And the Rebbe put his arm around him at some point. He didn't say anything about me. He didn't ask anything about me. And by the end, he told the Rebbe a lot about what had happened to him, and the Rebbe held his hand and he said, don't worry, everything's going to be all right. And then the yichidus was over, and it was about 10 or 12 minutes or something. And Dad said to me that after he left the Rebbe, he felt like that the whole oil, the whole sort of weight of the Holocaust had been lifted from his shoulders. My father was very good friends with Mנחem Begin. When Mנחem Begin was in opposition, he didn't have a lot of financial support. Dad was one of his financial supporters. He asked Mנחem Begin, who do you think is the greatest leader of the Jewish people? And Mנחem Begin said straight away, the Liubavitcher Rebbe. And my father said, that's very strange, why are you saying that? And he said, because he believes that the Rebbe has lifted up the whole generation after the Holocaust, that he helped the Jewish people believe in themselves again. So Dad was very taken by the fact that Mנחem Begin was saying that the Rebbe is the leader, because the Rebbe's managed to help people to help the Jewish people be proud of themselves again.